Which is better, the T-Mobile Revel 4 Plus or the T-Mobile Revel 4? Well, in this video, we're going to find out. Hi everyone, this is Kevin here, coming at you with my comparison between the Revel 4 Plus versus the Revel 4. Now these two phones are both exclusive to Metro by T-Mobile and T-Mobile, and the Revel 4 Plus is being offered at an MSRP of $189 compared to an MSRP of $120 for the Revel 4. So there is a $70 price difference between these two devices. However, with that being said, I'm pretty sure that both phones will receive pretty massive discounts due to the various promotions being run by both T-Mobile and Metro at all times. So I would definitely recommend inquiring over at your local store to see what deals are available so that you can save the most amount of money possible. But both of these devices were just launched along with a Revel 5G, which I'm still trying to get. But as soon as I get that phone, I will be comparing it to these devices as well. But if you're not familiar with the Revel series of phones, essentially it's an in-house brand from T-Mobile, and they've had Revel phones in previous years, but in my opinion, the Revel phones that just launched are some of the best that they've created yet. Now the Revel 4 Plus features a 6.52-inch display compared to the Revel 4, which has a smaller display at 6.22 inches. And you can see when holding these two phones up next to each other, without a doubt the Plus model is the larger of the two. Now both devices feature LCD displays, and they're both 720p. With the Revel 4 Plus, we're getting a PPI of 269, and with the Revel 4, we're getting a PPI of 270. Now what's interesting as well is that both of these phones are advertised to have an 18:9 display, but for my personal testing, and based off of the actual pixel dimensions, with the Revel 4 Plus, it's actually 20:9, and with the Revel 4, it's 19:9. And just by glancing at these phones, that certainly is believable, especially with the Revel 4 Plus, because this phone is quite tall and narrow. Now that's actually a pretty good thing nowadays, because you're able to fit a lot more content into a single frame here. And you'll see that when I do the side-by-side web browsing comparison, but having those taller form factors with both phones really is good, considering that nowadays people use their smartphones more than ever to consume content. But both displays do look good here on the devices. I will say though, in general, the Revel 4 Plus does get brighter. Now I do have the brightness at 100% for both phones right now. And you can see, for example, compare the brightness on the search bar. You can see things are certainly brighter here with the Revel 4 Plus. Now beyond that, with both phones, we are getting a pretty similar design here up front. We are getting water drop notches at the top on both phones, with a 16 megapixel front-facing camera with the Revel 4 Plus, compared to a 5 megapixel front-facing camera with the Revel 4. And then down at the bottom here, both phones do feature a pretty thick bottom bezel, but in general, I feel like both devices do feature good-looking and appealing designs. Now with the Revel 4 Plus, we're getting 64 gigabytes of internal storage compared to 32 gigabytes of internal storage with the Revel 4. So we're getting half the amount of internal storage with the Revel 4 compared to the 4 Plus. Now both phones do feature microSD card expansion though, which is certainly great. So if you do find yourself running low on storage, then definitely make sure to get a microSD card to put in your device. Now neither of these two phones feature wireless charging, but they both feature fingerprint sensors on the back. And in addition to that, both phones do feature face unlock. So we'll try out the fingerprint sensor with the Revel 4 Plus. Nice and fast there. And now for the Revel 4. And that was very fast as well. So you can choose whether you want to do face unlock or the fingerprint sensor or both. It's really up to you. Now taking a look at the cameras on both devices. With the Revel 4 Plus, we're getting a dual camera setup with a 16 megapixel main camera and a 5 megapixel depth sensing camera. And with the Revel 4, we're just getting one 13 megapixel camera. So there is no portrait mode with the Revel 4, but with the Revel 4, we do have portrait mode with both the front and rear camera. But here's how things look with the front-facing cameras on both phones. Again, I can switch over on the Plus to portrait mode to get a nice background blur, which is something that we cannot do with the regular Revel 4. And then switching over to the rear cameras on both phones, here's how things look with that. Actually, let me switch over to the regular camera here. Here's how things look. So pretty nice on both devices. A little bit of a different interface here as the viewfinder takes up a larger space on the Revel 4 compared to the Plus, but in general, you're going to find that the Revel 4 Plus does take the better photos and videos. And speaking of video, you can actually take video at up to 4K at 30 frames per second with the Plus, and with the regular, you can take video at up to 1080p. But the biggest difference between these two devices definitely has to be the processor and RAM. So with the Revel 4 Plus, we're getting 4 gigabytes of RAM compared to 2 gigabytes of RAM with the Revel 4. So we're getting double the amount of RAM with the Plus. And the biggest difference, and this is a really big one by the way, the Revel 4 Plus has the Qualcomm Snapdragon 665, and the Revel 4 has the MediaTek Helio A22. And there really is no comparison between the two processors. Now from my experience, the Revel 4, to its credit, does perform pretty well, and that is due to good software optimization, which I definitely do appreciate. So this phone does run well for what it is, but the Plus is like a whole different situation because it's so much better. You're gonna get way better performance with this phone. It's gonna give you more longevity in my opinion. I feel like the Snapdragon 665 should hold you over for several years, whereas maybe with the Revel 4, you might outgrow this phone a lot more quickly. But I did run a benchmark test with both devices, and I'll show you the scores right now. And you can see here with the Revel 4 Plus, I got a single core score of 311 compared to a single core score of 118 with the Revel 4. And then with the 4 Plus, I got a multi-core score of 1386. And with the 4, I got a multi-core score of 515. So the numbers do speak for themselves here. You can see we're getting way better benchmark scores with the Revel 4 Plus compared to the Revel 4. And from my experience of using both phones, the difference in these scores does reflect upon the actual real-world performance of the phones. Now what I do recommend doing is installing Geekbench 5 on your personal current device, and then comparing the scores from that phone to these phones to see if either of these phones are actually a performance upgrade. But I would say that with the Revel 4 Plus, you should definitely expect to get way better performance. Now with the Revel 4 Plus, we're getting a beefy 4,000 milliamp hour internal battery, and unfortunately with the Revel 4, they don't disclose what the battery capacity is, and I couldn't figure it out either using a third-party app. But they do claim that this phone gets up to 19 hours of talk time. So I would assume that we're probably getting around a 3,000 milliamp hour internal battery with the Revel 4. It's a little bit smaller than the Revel 4 Plus, but at the same time, it should give you good battery life. With the Revel 4 Plus, you're certainly going to be getting even better battery life. Now, software on these phones certainly is a strength. With both devices, we are getting stock Android 10. It's a very well optimized experience here as well, and things just seem to run smoothly without issues on both phones. So I am very satisfied with the software. Now the Revel 4 Plus has NFC, which is great. If you use Google Pay, for example, or anything else that uses NFC, the Revel 4 Plus does work with that. But with the Revel 4, there is no NFC. But now that we've compared the specifications of these two phones, let's take a closer look at the actual hardware. Now I already did talk quite a bit about the front panels here on both phones. Pretty similar looking. You know, both phones do feature notches on the top and they both have pretty thick bottom bezels, but in general, I think both phones do look nice. Now taking a look at the left side of the two devices, they both have the slot for the microSD card and SIM card, and then both phones are made out of plastic by the way, but they do feel high quality. Now taking a look at the right side of the two devices, with the power buttons on both and the volume buttons. Now one interesting thing about the Revel 4 Plus is that this power button actually has a light underneath it. So when the phone is plugged in, for example, that light actually glows. So it's kind of a cool effect there that we don't get with the Revel 4. Now taking a look at the top of both phones, they both have the noise canceling microphone and they have the 3.5mm headphone jack. And then taking a look at the bottom of the two phones, we pretty much have an identical setup here with the speaker, microphone, and USB-C port for charging and data transfer. And then taking a look at the back side of the two devices, we have some similarities but also some differences. So both phones do feature a fingerprint sensor. They both have the T-Mobile logo. And then we have the camera modules here in both phones, with the camera module being a little bit smaller with the Revel 4, but we're also getting one less camera. And then you can see the materials are a little bit different as well. I'm a big fan of this material on the back of the Revel 4 Plus. It is plastic, just like on the Revel 4, and I also like how it has a matte finish, but still has kind of a wavy look to it. So it does look a bit more sophisticated compared to the regular Revel 4. Let's now do a speed test comparison between these two phones. And also, I want to mention, Both devices are compatible with 5 GHz Wi-Fi in addition to 2.4. Just wanted to let you know in case you weren't sure about that. But let's now go to the camera app. 1, 2, 3, go. And it looks like the Revel 4 Plus was quicker at pulling up the camera. Let's now go to Google Chrome on both phones. 1, 2, 3, go. And definitely quicker there with the Revel 4 Plus as well. Let's now go to yahoo.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And Yahoo is quicker to load too with the Revel 4 Plus. Let's now go to engadget.com. 1, 2, 3, go. And the Revel 4 Plus was quicker at pulling up Engadget as well. The ad also appeared first. And again, this is a good opportunity to compare these displays side by side. You can see that even though the brightness is at 100% on both phones, the Revel 4 Plus is the brighter one of the two. We're also getting better colors in general. So pretty interesting there. Scrolling is pretty smooth on both phones. It does seem smoother with the Revel 4 Plus in comparison. So let's go to this article right here. 1, 2, 3, go. And also quicker to load here with the Revel 4 Plus. So that's a pretty general trend that I've noticed with both of these phones, is that the Plus certainly is the faster one of the two. And that does make a lot of sense since we are getting double the amount of RAM and we're getting a much better processor as well. So really, in conclusion, you've got to think about, is it worth spending the extra money on the Revel 4 Plus? Well, the real question also is what deals are being offered from the carriers, whether it's T-Mobile or Metro. Now, I got these phones from Metro personally. What I recommend doing is seeing what the various offers are. I mean, it's very possible that you could get either of these phones for free potentially. So if they're both being offered for free, then the Plus is clearly the way to go. And really, in any situation where the Revel 4 Plus is the same price as the Revel 4, I would go for the Plus no matter what. The Plus is better in literally every way. We're getting a better processor. We're getting double the amount of RAM. We're getting better cameras. We're getting twice the amount of storage. We're getting a bigger display as well. And we're getting NFC. But if the Revel 4 is less expensive than the 4 Plus, then you might be able to justify getting the Revel 4. So it really depends on what the offers are, but I hope this video helped point out the differences though between these two phones so that it does help you out with deciding which one is the better choice for you. But I would say in general, I think both phones do offer a lot of value, especially even at their MSRPs. So I think they're both decent devices, and I think T-Mobile did a great job at coming up with these various exclusives for the Revel line. But my name is Kevin. This is the T-Mobile Revel 4 Plus versus the T-Mobile Revel 4. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.